So we will now move on in the schedule, and the next company here is District Metals with CEO Garrett Ainsworth. Warm welcome.
Thanks very much for having me. It's great to be here for the first time presenting District Metals. Canadian company with 2 Swedish subsidiary companies. We control 3 base metal polymetallic projects in the Bergslagen and also 5 uranium polymetallic projects throughout central and north central Sweden that I'll get into in the presentation. So just a cautionary statement here. You can find this on our website. I'm not going to go through this slide in detail. And so, you know, when investors ask me, like, why should I invest in District Metals? This would be the slide right here in summary, in a high level, to explain that. So it really starts with the team at District Metals. We have a team that has a track record of success from exploration through to production. And that is absolutely critical because, a good team can make a mediocre project really good, but a really bad team can ruin a good project. So obviously, we're focused on Sweden. It's an amazing jurisdiction that I'll get into later in the project. It's a very pro-mining government that's in power right now. They're pro-nuclear, and they intend to lift the current ban on uranium. So our main uranium asset is the Viken deposit. It's the largest undeveloped uranium deposit in the world, or another way to put it, it's the 2nd largest uranium deposit after Olympic Dam, which is in Australia, and that's a mine being operated by BHP. We also have a few other uranium projects, Sågtjärn, Nianfors, Ardnasvarre, and the Alum Shale properties. I won't go into detail about those on this presentation, but lastly, on the base metal side of the company, we have a collaboration with Boliden, whereby they're spending $10 million Canadian over 4 years. District Metals is the operator, and we've had a lot of success at our Tomtebo project, and they've brought in their Stålberget project in the Bergslagen again. We've had some very wide intervals of strong base metal mineralization, 30 meters with good zinc, lead, silver, copper, and gold. So to talk a bit about the team here, so I'm a geologist by training. I spent 11 years in the Athabasca Basin. I had a lot of success with discovering high-grade uranium deposits. I was the vice president exploration for Alpha Minerals, took a lead role in the discovery of the RRR deposit. That was bought out in 2013 by Fission Uranium for $189 million. Then I went on to NextGen Energy. I was the VP Exploration and Development, had a lot of success there. We, when I started, our market cap was 50 million. When I left, it was about 3 billion Canadian dollars. I won a number of industry awards for my work at Alpha Minerals with the RRR deposit and the Arrow deposit with NextGen. And then in 2018, I got a hold of District Metals, and we entered Sweden in 2020, and the history goes from there. Also on the management side, our CFO, Marlis Yassin, is an amazing CFO. She's navigated some very interesting transactions, and was a big part of us getting our listing on the NASDAQ First North growth market, which we got in, I believe it was late January of this year we started trading. And then on the technical side, we're very well backed by extremely smart fellows, Hein Rat and Rodney Allen. They both work for Boliden for many, many years. On the board, it's very well-rounded with a skilled matrix. Joanna Cameron is a lawyer by training. I worked with her at NextGen. Doug Ramshaw, very well-known in the industry in the Canadian markets in terms of his technical knowledge and then also capital markets experience. Jonathan Chalice is a mine engineer by training, also has a lot of capital markets experience. And then our advisory committee, we're very well backed by a good crew there. I know Galen and Rob from my time in the uranium sector with the Athabasca Basin. Sophia Shane joined us, was about a year ago, and she comes from the Lundin Group, so she knows how things work very well in Sweden, and has a lot of contacts through her work with the Lundins. And then Rita Bennett, she really helps out with our marketing initiatives and our corporate communications. and she is the president of Discovery Group and is a huge asset in everything we do with corporate communications and whatnot. So the share structure here, we actually closed a financing in late May with Pareto Securities. It was $6 million Canadian, 27 cents. No warrant was attached to it. Our share price has doubled, or more than doubled, since that financing. The investors that came in, $3 million of it was taken by a very well-known investor group that has to remain anonymous at this point in time. The other remaining $3 million all went to funds, family offices, and high net worths that were Swedish and are holding their shares on our NASDAQ First North Growth listing. Myself, I actually just recently acquired 750,000 shares of District through a stock option exercise. Paid obviously with my own money, but that's how good I'm feeling about the future of District Metals going forward. So I mentioned Sweden, one of the best mining jurisdictions in the world. Huge history here that goes back to 400 BC with the Garpenberg mine, and Sweden is a powerhouse when it comes to metals being supplied to Europe in terms of iron, copper, other base metals. There's 12 active mines. The big players in Sweden are Boliden, Agnico Eagle, LKAB, BHP entered more recently. Mandalay Resources. There's a lot going on in the Bergslagen and up in the gold line. And one thing that we've really found is that the government support has just been massive. Like everything that we do at every level, it's been very, very good. We get our drill permits very quickly. The mining inspectorate is very keen on getting things done fast. And it only takes us 6 weeks to get a drill permit, which is very good when you compare it to other parts of the world. So I'll just talk now about the uranium side of the business here, and the reason why we've gotten into uranium is because of Sweden's change of stance, going pro-nuclear more recently in 2022. So about 30% of the country's electricity comes from nuclear energy. The current government wants to build 10 more reactors by 2045. They just passed a bill to do funding for this. Everything is kind of heading in the right direction, and they're also talking about lifting the uranium moratorium. That looks like it's going to happen this year. So it's very significant that we were able to pick up a very large land package of uranium properties in Sweden at a very low cost to the company. And now our investment here looks to be coming into fruition. So the path here and the history and the path of the uranium in Sweden is that in 2018, under the last government, which was a Social Democrat Green Party coalition, they put a moratorium on uranium mining, and that was all around phasing out nuclear energy. So the current government's gone pro-nuclear, and they want to lift the ban on mining uranium. And they made some huge moves in December of last year, whereby they completed an inquiry report that was very positive with recommendations to lift the uranium moratorium and a schedule and a timeline as to how it's going to happen. So it looks like it's in Parliament schedule for the bill to lift the uranium ban is going to Parliament in September of this year. So it could get voted on in September or maybe October. But the plan is to get it approved. The government says there's a majority to approve this bill, to do it before January 1st, because legislation only changes in Sweden on January 1st and July 1st. So, but for us as a District Metals, our game plan is to go full on speed as soon as that bill to lift the moratorium gets approved, which will hopefully happen in September or October. So our key asset here is the Viken property. It's very large, about 38,000 hectares. You can see the outline of the Viken deposit in the central claim there. The history here is that it was discovered in the 1978-79 by the Geological Survey of Sweden. Not a lot happened after that, as Sweden at that time kind of went off of nuclear due to 3 Mile Island. But then things started to pick back up in the early 2000s. Continental Precious Minerals did a lot of work at the Viken project. They actually had a market cap of 330 million in the last uranium cycle, which compares very favorably to District's current market cap of around 86 million. And yeah, so it was a good see that kind of valuation gap in the delta of where District could be once the moratorium gets lifted. So about a month ago, we put out our own updated mineral resource estimate on the Viken deposit, and it came back very large. I'll show you the numbers for those. And even with the moratorium on, we could actually mine the Viken deposit because it's not just uranium. There's vanadium, molybdenum, copper, zinc, and then there's also some other critical raw materials in there that are very important. So our next door neighbors are Aura Energy, and they have the Hagen deposit. It's the west extension of the Viken deposit. They've done some great work, and they've put out some economic studies that show very good economic potential in a mining scenario of alum shales in this part of the world. So I mean, they're very near surface. They're very simple, to explore for, develop, and in theory, simple to mine as well. So here's our most recent updated mineral resource estimate. The bigger numbers come from the inferred category: 4.3 billion tons. 1.5 billion pounds of uranium, 24.3 billion pounds of vanadium. There's also billions of pounds of molybdenum, nickel, copper, zinc. There's also phosphate, some rare earth elements. There's also potash, which, in terms of being in the center of Sweden, that's very strategically placed for agricultural purposes. And there's actually more as well that we haven't listed on that, but we wanted to kind of stay focused on certain metals and minerals. So just in order to put things into context here, in Southern Africa, they have some very large deposits, but they're not quite as large as the Viken. They're low grade, but in the last uranium cycle, there were some huge monetizing events. In 2007, Uramin got bought out for $2.5 billion US by Areva. In 2012, Extract Resources was bought out by CGN, a Chinese state-owned nuclear company, for 2.2 billion Australian dollars. And this is, multi-billion dollar monetizing events, much larger than anything you would have seen around that time in the Athabasca Basin, which has got the high-grade uranium. Because and one takeaway here is that, when you have lower grade uranium, I believe you have more potential suitors because it's less intimidating to go mine low grade uranium as opposed to high grade uranium in the Athabasca. There's only really 2 players in the Athabasca Basin, that's Cameco and Orano. So let's just take a switch over to our base metal portfolio here. This was the original draw in 2020 that got us into Sweden, was our Tomtebo project in the Bergslagen. So, I mean, these are gigantic polymetallic deposits and mines like the historic Falun mine, the Garpenberg and Zinkgruvan, which are operated by Boliden. I actually got a mine tour of Garpenberg not long ago. It was very exciting. I went down 1,200 meters. The resources go down to 1,600 meters, and drill hits have gone down to 2,000 meters, and it's still open. These type of deposits are amazing. They've seen, the whole Bergslagen has seen very little modern systematic exploration, and we're very excited to be partnered with Boliden. So like I said, they're spending $10 million over 4 years. We're in the 2nd year of that. District Metals is the operator. We get an operator fee. But they've also brought in their Stålberget project, which is 35 kilometers to the southwest of our Tomtebo project. Stålberget is more advanced. It's very similar to Garpenberg. I would say our Tomtebo project has similarities more like the historic Falun mine, but we've been drilling it very actively this year, and a lot of potential for exciting drill results to continue to come out of Tomtebo and Stålberget this year and the following years as well. Just to get a feel for the size and scale of these type of deposits in the Bergslagen. So in long section, if you were to copy and paste to scale the Garpenberg mine, you can see it starts at surface, goes down to about 1,600 meters. you could fit 3 or 4 Garpenbergs within the strike length of the Tomtebo property. The Tomtebo property contains the historic Tomtebo mine and the historic Lovas mine. They go down to about 200 meters. They have mineralization that's open in most directions, and that's what we're following up on as a priority at these 2 historic mines on the Tomtebo project. And just looking at some of the results that we've had at Tomtebo, so focused on the historic Tomtebo mine, we've had multiple intercepts from 12 to 30 meters with very solid base metal polymetallic results and some very good precious metal results in there as well. Mineralization at the Steffenberg zone is wide open in all directions, and we continue to be drilling deeper and hitting more mineralization as we go. So just looking at some of the things that we've done so far this year and upcoming catalysts. So earlier this year, we started trading on the NASDAQ First North Growth. We put out results from the Stolberg property, which were very good. Then we started drilling our Tomtebo project. Again, both those are funded by Boliden. We've taken a pause from drilling right now at Tomtebo, but we'll be starting back up in August or September. We completed a mineral resource estimate for the Viken deposit, and we've just recently commenced some pretty detailed airborne geophysical surveys at our Swedish uranium polymetallic project so that we can be drill ready for 2026, which will hopefully be when the moratorium has well been lifted by then. And then later this year in October, November, we'll be looking to go back to Stolberg to drill and operate that and be funded by Boliden. And then upon an approval of the moratorium being lifted, which hopefully will be about September, October this year, we will start a preliminary economic assessment on the Viken deposit, which would hopefully be done around mid-2026, but it'll be very exciting because then we'll be able to show the true potential value of these type of alum shale deposits. So just in summary here, what you get with District Metals is a very strong technical team and capital markets team, but technically we're well covered with uranium and base metal projects. Obviously we're focused in Sweden. I truly believe it's one of the best jurisdictions right now in the world. We've got a great portfolio of uranium properties. We've got our collaboration with Boliden, which has just been going very, very well. And I'm very proud of our shareholder registry and who we have on it. It's very impressive for a company of our size. And I think we have a very exciting future ahead. So I think with that, I will be happy to take some questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation here. And I heard you mention here in the presentation that you have raised $6 million in a private placement. What will you use this money for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we will, right now we've started some very extensive airborne geophysical surveys at our Swedish uranium properties. So we're flying a mobile MT survey. I won't get into the technical aspects of it, but essentially it'll tell us the depth of the alum shale and the thickness. It'll help us to really focus in on where's the best place to do a potential mining scenario study for alum shale at the Viken project, but also up at the alum shale properties, which are further to the north. We'll also be doing a drone radiometric magnetic surveys at some of our other projects like Ardnasvarre, Nyenfors, and Sockjarn. And then, having the extra funds in the account, so when the moratorium lifts, we won't have to go back to the market to complete a preliminary economic assessment, which is very handy.
I can imagine that. And looking ahead, do you see a further need for more capital raise after this period, or how does the thought process go there? Yeah, so
with mineral exploration and development, we don't have any revenue, and our model is not to actually build a mine. Again, I'm a geologist by training, so my sweet spot is exploration, discovery, development, and along the way to monetize it by selling it to a bigger company. If that doesn't happen with District Metals, then there would be a time where we would need to find, and there's a decision to actually go ahead with mining, then we would have to find a CEO that is a proven mine builder. to go ahead. But going back to your questions of financings, so it's a continual financing process to do like all the economic studies that show the value of the resources in the ground and what it would look like in a mining scenario. So we would do our preliminary economic assessment, then we would move to a pre-feasibility study, and then we'd move to a feasibility study. And at that point, then you're ready to kind of move forward with environmental permitting and move towards building a mine and operating a mine.
Thank you. And you mentioned Boliden a couple of times in the presentation. Could you add some more color? What's the current role of Boliden in your operations right now?
Yeah. So Boliden is funding us with $10 million Canadian to advance our Tomtebo project and Stålberg project, and we're the operator. But I mean, they obviously are a very strong, technically astute company. So we work with their geologists. We have technical committee meetings like at least once every quarter, but it actually ends up being more than that. We have informal ones. And so the collaboration that we have with Boliden is just, it's very, very strong. And I think it's some of the best work that's being done right now. I mean, Rodney Allen and Hein Rat, they used to work for Boliden. So there's a lot of friendships that are within both companies, and it's just a really good, healthy environment to be in.
And pretty recently in April, I believe, you updated your mineral reserve for weekend. Could you add some more color there? Any key changes or takeaways investors should take from that? Or?
Yeah, so the last mineral resource estimate that was done on the Viken deposit was in 2014, so 11 years ago. And the updated resource that we did was just based on historical drill holes. But we're actually able to increase the mineral resource estimate quite substantially. So, on the indicated category, we increased the resource by 960%. On the inferred category, we increased the total by about 44%. And that's because the approach with the Viken deposit is to go for a smaller mining scenario. Something that's more like a quarry size, not to go too big. And the big positive about going smaller, like a smaller open pit, is that it reduces your CapEx and it actually improves your social license.
I always end with one question. Why should people invest in your company?
I will refer back to the summary slide where we've got the team that has a successful track record, going from exploration through to production. We know things technically very well, but capital markets is a big part of it. The jurisdiction that we're in is just absolutely fantastic. I've never seen, the current government is just so pro-mining. I've never seen anything quite like it. Our projects are, some of the best in Sweden, and our investors that we have on the share registry are top-notch.
Thank you so much for the presentation and taking all the questions there.
Excellent. Thanks so much.